years, men have had the pressure to be real men. It doesn't help that the society have shifting goalposts on what a real man or who a real man is and the qualities of a real man. What remains constant, though, in this conversation is the need for performance. Welcome to Take Charge Series 2. This is episode 5 of this very, very interesting series. In the previous episode, we talked about managing your energy and not your time. Today, we are talking about energy to perform day and night. With me in the panel is Mr. Kasidi, Flora Wambua, and Rama Manikumar. Mr. Nicholas Kasidi is an award-winning global talent leader who was recently named in Kenya's top 20 disruptive people leaders in 2023. He has over 15 years of substantive exposure and experience in various HR leadership roles. Ms. Flora Wambua is a biochemist, a brand manager, Gensomin for Mega Life Sciences, with over 10 years experience in the pharmaceutical industry. Rama is a nutritionist and a lifestyle consultant, having worked in the health industry for more than 20 years. Before we move on, I'd like to thank Gensomin for sponsoring this show. This show is all about happy, healthy, and fulfilled men who are good performers in everything. A typical day begins with high productivity, but very few understand the secret to maintain this vibe. What we know is that performance is addictive and affects everything you do in life. Rama, what are some of the tips or what are some of the things you know about performance and how it affects our productivity?
Performance requires energy. And energy is something that we all need to have in plenty if we are to see ourselves throughout the day. Everywhere you go, you have to expend. So if you don't have enough, where is it going to come from? So it all begins with diet, because that's what fuels the body and the brain. And typically, a day should start with planning your nutrition well. You can skip breakfast, but that will not help you see you through the day. But if you have your breakfast, you will have enough energy to pass on this kind of energy at least until a few good hours of the morning. So typically diets, some of the new fad diets that have come up, engage you with fasting and not eating or skipping meals, or doing some dietary changes whereby you only eat a certain kind of food group, etc. It may work for a little while. However, it may have its repercussions. So eating a balanced diet for your body is very essential. That's the number one rule on the list of having more energy. Number 2, drinking water. I cannot emphasize enough on how much water plays a role in your body, because everything that happens in your body requires water. It's the medium on which everything, all the biochemical functions take place. So people believe that drinking so much water or following certain regulations is enough, but you need to make sure that you never go thirsty. That is key. Number 3 is sleep. The most underestimated point in good health is sleep. Sleep is a very vital part of recharging. So when your systems are down, your body can heal itself in sleep. When you have toxin overloads in any organs of your body, sleep can actually detoxify you. There are some chemical reactions that happen in the brain that can only be detoxified if you sleep. So people who only sleep for a few hours during the night or skip on sleep cannot function to their optimum. And number 4, I do not want to forget exercise, which is a very important part of getting good energy. Energy actually improves circulation in the body, which gives enough oxygen to both the body and the mind. So whether you're talking about focus, whether you're talking about doing overtime with your body, whether you're talking about going your 100th hour. This is all dependent on how well you're oxygenated.
What I'm getting from all this, even from the previous episodes we've had, is that energy is directly proportional to, the energy you have is directly proportional to how you perform. And it's the energy that matters more than even the time that you put into the work. Time is important, yes, but the energy you put out is even more important for performance. And you've talked about sleep, you've talked about water, you've talked about exercise, and I'm thinking, are these the things that affect energy?
Absolutely. They are directly proportional to the amount of how much you give each area of this kind of health. So, for instance, if you look at when to eat, if you look at what to eat, and if you look at how to eat, for instance, if you really plan this well, you can prepare your body or your mind accordingly. So, for instance, if you need to have if you know that you have a very hectic day tomorrow, planning is essential. It's not alone enough if you just pack your bags, you need to pack your body too, in order for it to obey you and give you more the next day. So this is putting your foods together. For instance, I know of people who skip carbohydrates and do a complete protein diet. While it's good for certain reasons, it's not always going to be a sustainable diet.
Yeah, but do most of us really do that? Mr. Kasidi, do you take breakfast every day?
Loaded question. No, it depends, really. So for me, my style is delayed breakfast because my system doesn't receive it very well immediately I wake up. So I would probably just take something really light, say black coffee or something, just for that energy vibe. And then maybe later from around 11, then my body starts opening up. And I don't know whether that is a factor because I sometimes take dinner much later in the night. So the system is, I think, a bit crunched. By the time I'm waking up, there's a bit of tiredness. So it's not very ready to receive breakfast very early on. So I think it could be my spacing of the meals.
The circadian rhythms, as we call it.
Yeah.
Basically how you sleep and how you wake
What
up in the
rhythms?
morning. Circadian rhythms, the day and night schedules of the body. So if you sleep late, for instance, you invariably probably are putting your system through a certain kind of stress. And that stress reflects in the next day morning, you not having an appetite to wake up and have your breakfast in time. People don't understand hunger and appetite also. They're two different things. So you probably do not feel hungry enough to have your breakfast. So you probably think that a coffee should do the job now so I can eat later. So that's going to affect your energy. That's going to affect your performance. Because what happens with black coffee is it will shoot you to a level where your entire system is so active. So what are you doing? You're actually using up a load of energy from your body to keep you that alert and active for those few hours. But when the caffeine effect is gone, you're going to plunge down again.
I can add on that. I've just remembered what he told us in the previous episode, that his day starts very slow, but picks up towards the end. So I think it's all explained in just your eating habits. By skipping the breakfast and eating way later in the day, so that's why you peak later in the day, other than in the morning.
And even as we're talking about coffee and things like that, and Rama is telling us from his expert opinion, from her expert opinion, I mean, that coffee isn't good. Rama, what are the do's and don'ts of diet?
Coffee is good when you know how to use coffee wisely. Because caffeine is a very important factor for the heart. Given in little spurts, it actually does a lot good for the heart. But people use it for wake-me-ups rather than for using it correctly. So if you had a coffee, say about 2:33 in the afternoon after a heavy meal, it works wonderfully well because it's like a reawakening for your system. Whereas your digestive system can get a little sluggish, it's like a wake me. It's a call for wake me up. With respect to diet itself, if you ate your complex carbohydrates during the morning along with a little bit of protein, that would give you enough to carry you through until lunchtime. But I'm a firm believer of the fact that you need to eat something in between so that you're not overly hungry and you're not binging on meals. Because when you binge again, you're going to raise your blood sugar, which is going to keep you all alert and alive for a few hours and then again drop you down. So eating wisely, maybe 4 or 5 meals throughout the day and smaller meals. Breakfast being your main meal and having a good health supplement, maybe alongside, will see you through beautifully throughout the day. That's a nice regimen to keep with regards to food.
Is there a cut-off point for the dinner time? Like beyond which you should not take anything?
A very good question, that.
And even as you answer that, is there also a cut-off point for breakfast? Like, at what point should we start taking breakfast? When is too early and when is too late?
Absolutely. When on waking up, you should feel nicely hungry within about 15 to 30 minutes or so. That's a good sign of health being in place. Because if you've had your dinner, say, at about 7:30, 8 in the night the previous evening, about a 12-hour gap when you're sleeping and not doing much of work in the night should allow for the digestive system to nicely digest your entire food and make you wisely hungry, for the body to be wise and hungry. So on waking up, if you have a nice hunger bout of within about half an hour, you should eat a very clever breakfast. A clever breakfast, as I was telling you, is a complex carbohydrate like maybe some oats, some nice sweet potatoes with oats, bananas. All these are power foods. These are called superfoods as we name them. So these are all things that will actually nourish your body in the morning. And all your enzymes are flowing, your body is ready to digest, and you're all alert and active, so everything is pumping. So if you probably have a nice breakfast, after an hour or so, you should probably have a nice cup of coffee so that you're not clubbing them together. I know of people who say, I can't wake up without a coffee. So this is a very good regimen to follow. And coming to dinner, dinner should be always about an hour and a half to 2 before your sleep time. Preferably keep your stomach less busy about 2 hours before you want to retire. Because food always takes about 1.5 to 2 hours to pass through the entire system to reach the stomach and the gut. So you're not taxing your organs so much when you're sleeping. So this is the rule of dinner.
Rama, those are very insightful thoughts, except in a situation where a man has to leave very early, like in most cities, men leave very early and come back home very late. What do they do? Probably they come back at 10 p.m. What happens?
That is one of the main challenges of city life, I guess. Eating little meals frequently rather than trying to eat a big meal together, that really helps for energy. Because then you're not peaking your blood sugars unnecessarily high and low. So foods, for instance, boiled eggs, sweet potatoes, bananas, or any fruit for that matter, you can combine a few nuts like peanuts or things like that. So these all add to the energy factor. Carrying breakfast, if it's possible, yes, but otherwise pick on foods that are fresh, which you know are filled with nutritive value. So not taking a croissant, for instance, or just a flat bread or any white flour-made mandazis and things like that. Not of its own, but adding some nutrients to it. So have a fruit. If you have to have something like this, have a fruit alongside. So it's a healthier way of putting the nutrients in place. So these are little things that we can actually design our lives around for healthy nutrition.
I don't know how practical this is for African men. It's much easier. I see most of my female colleagues carrying lunch and carrying, juice and stuff like that to the office. Rarely do I see men doing the same. And I know they come in very early, they put in a lot of work. They can go for lunch, and then after lunch is home, right, for dinner. So that's why I think it's more of a bit of a challenge. I don't know whether this is by design or by default in the continent where we stay, and this is sort of like a practice that men rarely carry food to the
Actually,
office.
men are embarrassed
Yes.
to carry food
Yes.
to the office. I
Yeah.
don't know why. Again, it all boils down to the man thing and the expectations the society has on men. That if you carry food, you're seen as
More feminine?
feminine.
Yeah, yeah.
Men are hunter-gatherers by their very evolutionary trait. So they like their hands free. They don't carry bags like we do, handbags and possessions like we do. But it's also the food factor. I mean, you just hunt. You're not the cooker or you're not the person who's going to put the meals together. So it's also very evolutionary.
So Rama, if I understood what you said, because you was asking for the modern day man who lives in a city and you're unable to eat breakfast on time and dinner on time, what I got is that as long as you have small meals throughout the day, it doesn't matter whether you eat a bit later, just ensure that your tank is full. Like there's
Tank is full.
Some food.
Yes, but how full is it? In what ways is it full? Nutritively, what are you adding to your diet? Are you using good super foods that are really going to help your body, or are you going to eat foods which are not really nutritively high? For instance, biscuits and bread, they don't have much they have calories, they can fill your stomach, but it's not going to give you the real energy that you require. So I would say an apple or a fruit like, say, pineapple or mango has more nutrition. I mean, it would sustain you for longer. A bread would give you maybe half an hour's worth, but a mango will give you about 2.5 worth. So would you want to fill in cheap petrol, or you want expensive petrol for your car to be maintained well? So this is the key.
You know, during COVID, this is very interesting because, you know, most guys are working from home, which means you're actually closer to the kitchen. So during that time, you can actually crawl to the kitchen, pick a snack, and actually guys grew bigger. During
I
that
know
time,
of men who gained a few
gained quite a
good
bit.
kilos.
Yeah. And even women, I think. Yeah, because you know, closer to the source, and you know, without much effort to get it, you know. But then the opposite also is true. And now going back to work, you're not making the same effort to carry that food. And then the other observation I've also seen is that when you're working in a very high pressure environment, you are actually much less likely to eat. You might carry that lunch, it might go back the way it came. So I think we are creatures of habits. I think one thing we need to also address is the mindset of the male individual.
Absolutely. And the key is to
yeah.
look for nutrients in food rather than appeal or taste or, you know, these just the feel-good factors that come with food.
Yeah.
And it's also the fact that men need to deviate from the idea that, you know, they need to know what they need to eat. For instance, you mentioned you forget to eat during peaking working pressures. It's a theory that exists. You actually work better on an empty stomach, but not for long. Because your digestive process itself, for instance, I know of people who eat a very light lunch when they have a meeting during the afternoon, because you're alert. Your digestive juices are minimally used up for your digestion. So you're alert. Your body is not wasting its time and plugging you in. So it's key to understand how your body works. Your body works. I'm not saying all men are made the same, but it's key to understand how you work. There are morning people and there are the evening people. They're not afternoon and evening people. So where does your energy exist? How are you feeding the part where your energy is not there? So that is key. So driving and pushing your energy through the day, stretching it in a nice manner so that you're equally spaced throughout the day is what matters. So eating what, eating how, and eating when. I know of people who grab the lunch with their left hands and are working and typing on their right hands. Now, is that good? I believe we're just dispersed human beings. So food needs to be given the respect that, because it's fueling.
You know, there's a saying in my community that food is sacred and you have to give it the honor it deserves.
The honor, absolutely.
Exactly.
You would not be starting your car when you're filling petrol. It's the same with the body.
Right. Let's talk about hydration. You know, For a very long time, we've been told, take 8 glasses of water, but most of us don't really do it. What is the place of water in energy or in performance?
Every process in your body requires water. Every chemical reaction. Basically, we're a factory, chemical factory. Everything that happens, it's all chemical reactions that are coming out of our body. And the medium or the base for it is just water. So we need to have enough water if everything has to function properly. Your brain cells require water as much as all your body cells, as much as all your hormones. So water is a very important factor. If you need good digestion, even to digest your food, it begins from there. So without water, this will not happen. The right way to drink water, never drink water with food. Have it either half an hour before or about 1.5 hours later. On waking up, have at least about 1 to 2 glasses of water. Try not to have water after about 3:30, 4 in plenty before you retire for the night. So these are things you need to keep in mind. And 2 to 2.2 liters is what is considered a good amount of water for our human body. However, there are people who are extraordinarily thirsty. There are people who don't feel thirsty. And also in certain seasons, like if it's wintertime, you really don't feel the need to drink much water. So at those times, have anything like a drink, probably a hot drink, that will also give you enough fluids for the body. So this is hydration for your body. But never stay without water.
Water.
Water should be an important part of your dietary regimen.
Ah, interesting.
I don't know, maybe just to add, what's good water? Well, so we talk about taking water, 8 glasses of water in a day, and of course I like how you're spacing it. But then now we have different variances of water. Flavored water, lemonade, and you have all types of water. So what's good water, and how temperature? You know, cold, hot.
There are actually people who believe that taking warm water has more benefits than
To
room
cold
temperature.
water.
Such things. Is there?
Cold water can shock your body. It's actually a shock. It's like a jolt for your body. Although it's very nice on a hot, sunny day, it's not the most friendly because most of the temperatures inside of our body, I mean, we maintain a certain degree of temperature throughout our lives. So even the insides require a certain temperature. Room temperature is the most ideal. If you can probably have it slightly warmer, that's even better. But hot is good when you probably have a sore throat or something to soothe your throat, something like that. Or even having this hot water on waking up or warm water on waking up will help serve the purpose of actually putting your digestive juices to nice calming rest, because you have a lot of acid when you get up in the morning. You are probably hungry, and there's when the acids and the enzymes are like craving for some food. So it's nice to just keep that low. So that's the best way to.
Is it a myth or a fact that taking warm water keeps you fitter?
Absolutely. It helps to keep the digestive processes going better. So warm is better than cold. For sure.
Oh, that's nice.
That's noble.
We've also talked about, when you started, you talked about exercise as one of the things that affect energy. What should be done, how should it be done, and when should it be done? Rama, you talked about exercise and its role in energy and performance. Unfortunately, the modern man has quite a lot of pressures and there's so much societal expectations. Mr. Kasidi, would you tell us, when do you exercise? Do you exercise?
It's a very direct question. Yeah, exercise. Now, I think for me it's a question of time to exercise. I think a friend of mine was just mentioning is always, working 7 to 7. So even getting that time to exercise. But then I also think that, more often than not, we miss the point on what really exercise is. what is exercise, because we are always so limited to thinking you must be going to some gym or where it's expensive equipment and you have to sign up for something every month. You go every morning, every evening. But exercise is quite broad. So, I mean, you can't just take a walk every evening. Depending on how far your office is from your house, you can cycle, you can walk, whatever it is. In the urban cities where we stay, we are so used to getting into our cars. So your cars take you to the gate of your office, you park there. In the evening, you go back to the house. So you do very limited exercising. And then you go to bed, the same thing. So it becomes an everyday thing. At the end of the day, you realize that you're very, very unfit. When you get challenged to climb stairs to the 5th floor, then you can now test that with most people, especially in Kenya. I've seen that. So it tells you a lot. I mean, usually people tend to debate, do I take the lift or should I take the stairs? So you should watch this. Many people will take the lift. Why? Because they're not very confident of their ability to climb more than 3 levels or 3 floors.
And attend a board meeting.
Yeah. Well, there are people who have actually made it part of their, everyday to take the stairs, and very, very intentional. So one thing I start seeing some companies doing is that they have actually fixed some gyms of sort, or some created spaces where people can actually go and exercise, whether that is through dancing or just jumping, or you have a space somewhere you can just go and do. Every Thursday you say we're going to go for football or something, just to run after work. And then those who have time actually can come for it. Now, what I've seen that happen is that once a small group starts it, say it's a football club or just an entertainment spot, then with time, it starts growing and people start having some interest. We want to, why is Gloria always Thursday disappearing to after 5? There's me something. Then you post photos. So it's more of how do you also influence your colleagues? If you start an exercise regime, or you start to find a way of relieving some of this pressure after work. So my point is, try and find creative ways to exercise without limiting this to some gym or some sports center, because gym also is an investment. It's expensive. So try and figure out in your own space what works for you. If walking is easier for you, if running every morning is easier for you, do it. But make it a habit. So myself, I've been procrastinating. I will run, I will walk.
So do you take the stairs?
I take the stairs. But just getting into a formal gym sort of routine has been my challenge. But I think it's really getting yourself into it. Like, start small from where you are. Find something. Yeah.
Rama, what's your take on this?
First of all, I must say that exercise improves health. And when you reach good health, it's addictive. So I would say you should never force things like exercise. You need to be able to want to do it. You should feel the need to go and do it anyway. Whether you have the time or not, you need to make the time or find the time. So when you fit it in, even 15 to 20 minutes of brisk walking, as he rightly said, improves circulation, it helps you freshen up, it really opens up your mind, it helps you with focus and concentration better, it helps you actually relax where necessary, if it's in the evening that you just take a stroll. So these are things absolutely necessary in your life. I don't know what Flora does, but I would love to hear from her too, now that Mr. Kasiri has said that.
Well, that's also a very direct question, but when it comes to exercise, getting the time to plan for exercise is almost impossible for me. It's like the time just never comes, because it's either I'm late for work, so even taking the stairs is not even an option, because you find that there's just a lot going on during the day. So like in the company that I work for, Mega Life Sciences, we have a group known as the Good Health by Yourself. And basically there's a WhatsApp group and people do small exercises and posts. Something as simple like even installing an app on the phone that counts the number of steps you take in a day. And then at the end of every month, we publish it on the wall. And then we're able to see who took the least steps. Well, I have featured on the lowest for some time. But at least it encourages you to know that you can actually just even walk for lunch, other than just in a fun way. I can call a colleague and tell them, let's just walk for lunch. I can take the stairs where possible, maybe after lunch, because that time maybe you probably manage your time better. So in these small little ways, yes, I would say I exercise a little, but programmed exercise is almost impossible for me. And it all boils down to the time. There's no time for that.
Understood. And also, exercise requires energy. As much as energy is also gotten out of exercise, you need the energy to also be able to go and do the exercise that's needed. So it's a catch-22. And if you begin from somewhere and roll it on, they say that habits for 21 days stick with you. So if you manage that 21 days and if you see the difference, I mean, that's where supplements or things like adaptogens come into play heavily, because when you don't have the energy to exercise, you need to find it from somewhere. I'm sure Flora can highlight us on that better, what adaptogens do to probably help you boost your energy for exercising alone.
Yeah, but before you come to that, there's one thing I wanted to add around finding a support group or a network, because sometimes deciding some of these things to start alone is very difficult.
Absolutely.
So if you have an area of passion or interest that you share with friends, for example, hiking, you guys can decide, start with a group of 5. You're going to start with Ngong Hills. Then every Saturday or every last Saturday of the month, you have a mountain to climb. Now, that is part of exercise. And it's already getting into a routine, but it's also something that you love. So it's
and
a
you're
challenge.
also under peer pressure to
and you're
do
under
it.
peer pressure that you have to go.
Brilliant.
So your limbs could be really aching from the last hike, but you're thinking about the friends because they are
And maybe you
accountable.
can attach a fun activity
And a
after.
fun activity
Exactly.
to it.
So that the fun activity makes
It
you want
kind of
to
pushes you
to go.
beyond your limit. Yeah, but if you wait and say, okay, Flora, when will I start this thing? You will never start.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. That's where the social mapping of human beings comes into play, support them for the better things in life.
True. So
Absolutely.
coming back to your question, Rama, on adaptogens and the role they play in exercise, it all still again boils down to energy. Adaptogens, when your stress levels are well managed, your feel-good hormones are also in check. Remember what exercise gives you. When you exercise, you get the feel-good hormones. Your stress levels go down. So a good adaptogen like ginseng is actually something that helps you or complements your exercise pattern. So you get more energy, even more energized to work out. You get more energy and the feel-good hormones afterwards. So I think it complements each other. It's a nice play. You can make it as part of your dietary regimen and supplement to help you be more energetic to exercise and also get the feel-good hormones that come with
Absolutely.
it.
And the best time to exercise is preferably probably in the morning. If you have to do energetic exercises or very high intense workouts. And that's the time you also take supplements alongside after your breakfast. So it definitely suits the
So
role
Rama,
of
if I can ask
adaptogen.
about the morning, would you recommend exercise before breakfast or after?
Preferably before. It done well, it actually helps you set your insulin and your appetite, the hunger craving hormones better. So that is one. And also, exercise done in the morning opens up your brain cells. So you can focus and concentrate and do things better.
On the same question, there are people who claim that if they exercise in the morning, they feel tired throughout the day.
Yeah, that's probably because their breakfasts are not in place. Their supplements are they probably have deficiencies that they've not corrected. That's why supplements play a very, very important role in correcting those kinds of deficiencies. When you wake up on a good morning and when you say that I'm tired, that means there is good health which is questionable there. So as I said, good health is addictive. If you are in good health, you don't want to easily come out of it. So your fitness comes, your sleep comes, your hydration comes, your diet comes, you have taste buds to taste the best of foods and not really. So everything plays. It's a beautiful orchestra that plays in your body. So
I wanted to bring the aspect of mental exercise. I think we've been talking a lot about the physical exercise, and we forget that there's a big piece around mental exercise and how we can get this right, because then it sets tone for the rest of the day and what happens after. So I remember there's a time we had joined this 5 a.m. club. It's a book club. So it forces you to report back or review a book and just give a quick high-level summary to the team, and everyone has to think about one learning a day. One learning a day, so every 5 a.m., you know, and I thought that was a very good practice of getting you started off for the day. And there could be other things you could think about, you know, enriching your mind, whether it's listening to a podcast.
Absolutely.
Or a 1
even
minute
just
YouTube,
meditating.
or meditation, or yoga,
Yoga.
you know, things like that. So I think let's not lose the point around the mental exercise
Absolutely.
as much as the physical exercise.
Very well said, actually.
Yeah.
And also things like simple Sudokus or word puzzles, all these things just give you that little spurt. Your brain's
It's
thinking.
the real meaning of jog your mind.
Yeah, jogging your
Yes,
mind.
yes. Quiz nights,
Quiz night.
for
Quiz nights,
instance, you know,
yes.
things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very well.
Makes you
very
stay
well
alert
thought
the
out.
whole
Yeah.
day. You feel productive also.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
What's the place of sleep in this conversation?
Oh, yes. As much as
Is sleep
exercise is
demonized?
important. Yes. As I said, sleep is a very important factor that is neglected, sometimes even forgotten. I know of people who are in very high stressful jobs that can't sleep at night. They have to take pills, or they have to, use, agents in order to put them to sleep. And I would want to first understand from you all, like, what do you think of sleep, like yourself, Mr. Kasiri?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so,
I had a burning point actually I wanted to say in regards to sleep. Maybe you can come back. So sleep, for
Yeah.
example, as
Yeah.
Africans, there is a lot of conversations go around sleep. Africans are religious, most of them. Like, for example, from a Christian perspective, it says, a little sleep and poverty knocks to you like bandits. So we have all grown up knowing that sleep is somehow not a very good thing.
Yes.
Like, I remember one time when I was a little younger, I slept till around 7 a.m. And I remember my father knocking on the door and asking, "Are you dead?" So you're not.
That's heavy.
So I had to wake up and prove that I'm alive.
You're alive.
So there's a lot about sleep. And for a long time, I grew up knowing that sleep is bad. Like in high school, we used to be punished when you're found sleeping. Because sometimes you just get so tired and you just sleep on your desk. And I remember one time we were told to sleep outside the entire school and cover ourselves with blankets. It was quite embarrassing. So growing up through those things, sometimes it's possible to feel guilty when you sleep. But over time, I've come to know that sleep is very important. Your body actually requires sleep in order to recharge and repair. And anything that you can do that can make you get good quality sleep is very, very important.
Well said.
Yes,
Very well
it's
said,
very
actually.
yeah, you're so right. I think there's so many misconceptions about sleep, depending on how we've been raised or socialized in our various backgrounds. People mistake sleep for laziness, and especially for people who wake up so late. You have nothing to do. Yeah, why do you sleep until 8? You have nowhere to go. But forgetting that you probably slept at 2 a.m. And also another challenge is managing the sleeping time and making it consistent so that your system actually gets wired to that pattern. So many people, they lose that pattern. And the moment you lose that pattern, when you try to get it back, so if I'm already used to sleeping at 2, when I want to try now start sleeping at 9, it's a big problem. I'll stay awake until that time when my system now flows into it naturally. And then it takes a lot of effort to get it back. And also if someone who is used to waking up by 4, system will just wake up by 4. And then even you have nothing to do at that 4. So I think it's about getting, first of all, the value of sleep, because when the body is tired, you will know. It will tell you. Actually, most of the times I sometimes just doze off in the couch, you know. So when I'm working late or something, I'm trying to catch up with, late night news. I just slowly just, and yeah, so the question of, feeling guilty, that, you're sleeping for too long. But I think you have to be very deliberate on the value of sleep and getting a good night's sleep. In the workplace, there are people who you'd find dozing off in meetings. And sometimes you can think that they're not serious, but when you go deeper, you realize this guy has been missing sleep for a long time. Or maybe they've just had a baby, and this guy has not had a time for paternity leave, So he's been awake the whole night. He needed to be here by 7. There's a meeting, there's a report he has to work on. So when he catches a little sleep, you start judging him. Now, progressive organizations, what they do is that they have this policy of a power nap. So over lunch, they have like a nice little corner somewhere you can go do a 1-hour power nap. And it's something that they encourage because they know after you get that 1-hour power nap, they're gonna get 120% of your productivity out of that. So it really depends on how you leverage sleep to spur productivity, especially in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there is also this opinion on the fact that sleep over it. You know what I mean? Like if you probably have something that you're struggling with, you can't find an answer to, or you're not able to think through things, there's always this factor they say, just sleep it out. So a lot happens in sleep, as I was actually discussing with one of my colleagues the other day. Sleep contains 2-3 bits of parts of it. So the initial sleep is just the very light sleep. And then you go into the deeper sleep after about 2.5 hours, which is called the REM sleep, or the rapid eye movement sleep. And after that, for a few minutes, and you keep coming back to this cycle so many times throughout the night. So at one point in time, your brain actually opens out to another realm, and you actually can find solutions to problems. That's what triggers solutions to your problems. So they say sleep over it means it is a very, very good thing that happens in sleep that actually calms your system down and lets you respond to some natural, So you come back to solutions. So sleep is a wonderful gift, actually.
And I've realized that people who don't sleep well are also often so stressed
and agitated and irritated and frustrated
and irritated,
angry, and that's so
angry.
true.
Exactly. Flora, you talked about feel-good hormones and cortisol. Would you tell us a bit more on the stress hormones and all that?
Okay, so stress hormones, like we've said in our previous episodes, the stress hormone is actually called the cortisol, and it is a very good hormone because we cannot neglect the fact that a little bit of stress is good. It's actually what pushes your body to perform. Like, for example, if no one is giving you any pressure, performance becomes poor. But the problem is, for example, if you see a lion there, you'd want to run. So whatever makes you run has a lot to do with a lot of hormones, and cortisol is one of them that triggers you to make such decisions. But the problem is when the cortisol levels are constantly very high, this imbalance comes in when all these issues come in. You don't get enough sleep, you have long days at work, you're not exercising enough, you're not eating proper diets. All these things come in place. And of course, the other stressors that you get at work and at home. Everyone is on your case. You're supposed to deliver reports. You're supposed to please everyone. So when that happens for a prolonged period of time, what happens is that the stress meter goes higher. So supposing that it's on a scale of 1 to 10, you realize that someone is constantly on an 8. So when your stress meter is very high, you start showing some physical manifestations. You start showing irritability, anger outbursts, withdrawal. You start feeling lazy all the time. Your performance is the first thing that fails, and it's noticed. So if that's what actually stress hormones do, and the opposite of stress hormones is feel-good hormones. There are certain feel-good hormones that are there in the body. They're generally called endorphins, and these are the hormones that generally make you stay energized, feel happy, including serotonin, the sleep hormone that makes you fall to sleep and calm down. So it's important to strike a balance between the stress hormones and the feel-good hormones. When the feel-good hormones are constantly on a high, your performance is impacted positively, whether at home, at work, wherever, and you're constantly happy and happiness is key to everything. So that's what I can say about the stress hormones and the feel-good hormones. And that is why even when Rama was talking about exercise, she said that exercise induces feel-good hormones at the same time. Sleep also induces feel-good hormones when you wake up. And that is why all those things are very important to at least ensure that they're part of the maintaining good relationships. Sex also is about feel-good hormones. So yes, that's what I can say about the cortisol levels and the stress hormones.
Interesting. That's really, really interesting. You know, most of the time we don't take account of our stress levels. Sometimes people don't even know they're stressed. So many people are walking around stressed and they don't even know it. Rama, what are some of the coping mechanisms that we can?
I would say that first of all, become aware of what your body is, how you're feeling, what exactly is happening inside of your body, and how are you reacting to. You know, you might find yourself suddenly not able or trying to procrastinate or, really not being able to do it perfectly well. So these are signals to the body. And what happens when you don't have a proper diet or when you don't have proper sleep or for whatever the reason, you're probably compromised in so many ways.
Like, most people can't have good diets.
Exactly.
What do they do?
Exactly. So I would say resort to supplements where you can, because what the diet cannot fulfill, 60% to 70% is what we really get from good food. The nutrients that come out of our food these days, where it's highly processed or probably packaged, or the way we tamper with food quite a bit these days. So that is all we really get out of food. So where are you going to get your 100%? That's where supplements come into big play. They correct deficiencies. They actually give you the burst and the boost where necessary for the body to perform. So these important things that we need to do, especially look at energy, performance, and all that. Adaptogen plays a very, very big role. What does the adaptogen do? It actually helps your body cope better where these deficiencies or these kinds of challenges and impediments are there. Who better than Flora to tell us more about it?
Exactly. You've talked about adaptogens, you've talked about supplements. Flora, would you tell us about all this?
Adaptogens. So by looking at the modern day man who lives in the first world where life is fast, expectations are high everywhere, every left, right, and center. And a very interesting aspect came about time, that people do not actually have time to do the things that can actually improve their performance and their well-being, like even exercise, like even getting time to put together a healthy, balanced meal. Sometimes is also a challenge because a good meal has to be cooked in a particular way. And even sometimes the economy does also not allow majority of the people living in urban areas to actually enjoy a full balanced meal throughout the day. So this is where the role of adaptogens come in. Now, adaptogens are, like we have said in the previous sessions, are substances which help your body to cope with stressful conditions, just like the name suggests, adaptogen. So they do this by lowering your stress hormone, which is the cortisol, and improving the feel-good hormones. And they do this through several mechanisms, which have been clinically proven over time. For instance, there are studies that show that adaptogens, one such good example of an adaptogen is ginseng, particularly the Korean Panax ginseng. Studies have shown that Korean Panax ginseng done in human studies actually improved energy levels. And it did that by improving the circulation, lowering the cortisol levels. When the cortisol levels were checked, they were lower, and increasing the feel-good hormones, and generally increasing the microcirculation. When you increase circulation in the body, what you get is enough oxygen goes to, remember oxygen is very important in our bodies. It is the one that generally keeps us energized. So there's good metabolism, there's good energy levels, the hormones are balanced. And what this manifests in is good performance. In terms of, if you look at parameters like concentration, there's higher concentration, there's better performance, there's lesser irritability, and therefore people are able to cope with stressful conditions in a much better way. So that is the role of adaptogens in all this, and ginseng is one such adaptogen that has been studied for a longer period of time. There are other benefits that ginseng offers apart from improving performance in relation to improving the sexual matters in life. Like there are also studies which have evaluated its benefits even in diabetic patients and also patients with chronic ailments like even hypertension or high blood pressure. So it is adaptogens generally do good for the body. In the place where, like Rama said, where diet alone is not enough because of various factors that can affect how or what we get from diet.
And also sleep deprivation, as we discussed, and exercise, not being able to exercise to get the
Actually,
energy from...
on sleep also, adaptogens play a great role in actually encouraging good sleep patterns. So when taken at the right time, for example, in the morning with breakfast, one stays energized throughout the day and there's better sleep at night. So there are studies which actually show better sleep outcomes on most of the people or individuals who actually take adaptogens like ginseng.
So is ginseng an adaptogen?
Good question. Ginseng is actually contains the main ingredient as the Korean Panax ginseng, which is an adaptogen. And apart from that, ginseng also contains 19 vitamins and minerals because we've talked a lot about diet and nutrition and what key roles. The only problem is where do you get these specific vitamins and minerals, for instance, which play a very important role again in even boosting our immunity, giving us even an appetite to even enjoy the meals because sometimes when you're too tired, you can't also eat, increasing our microcirculation, ensuring that because if you can all remember your biology a little bit, vitamins and minerals are enzyme cofactors and they play a big role in the enzymes and hormones which are produced in the body. And our body is basically just, Rama called it a factory, a chemical factory. These chemicals are processed through these enzymes and hormones and everything. So apart from ginseng, ginseng also contains 19 vital vitamins and minerals, including the zinc, the magnesium, which are all very important, and especially for the modern day man. So it's a wellness health supplement that has been carefully crafted for the modern day man to ensure that they have enough energy to perform at their best, both during the day and at night.
Very insightful thoughts on energy and performance day and night. I'd like to get your tips, your last remarks on what you think about energy and performance. Mr. Kassid.
So performance would be the outcome of focused energy. Focused energy on a particular area of target. So if your focused energy is to ensure that you can move this cup from here to the kitchen, if it gets to the kitchen in good time, in good condition, then that's performance. So I think we just need to relate how we need to reassess our energy levels, know when we are at the highest peak in our energy, what times of the day, and when we are at real low, and what happens. And then how do we then recalibrate and bring back that energy? What do we need to do? Is it water? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need to, just talk to somebody or just take a power nap and then recharge? So always understand, first of all, understand your body, then understand your environment, and then understand what you need to do about it to get you back where you need to be. So it's very, very important. Understand your body, because many people take themselves to the hospitals without really understanding their body. And sometimes it's very, very basic things you could do. Yeah, you ask something around coping mechanisms. I mean, even beyond going to the supplements, if you can't afford them, and you've realized that your stress levels are really gone high, or you're feeling depressed, irritated, angry for no reason, try and redirect that anger, that energy somewhere else. If you're in the house and you think you're going to break the table, walk out of that house. Just get out to the compound or run. Just start running. Yeah. By the time you come back to that house, you'll have no energy to kick anybody. Then you relax. Then take a shower. Then now start working. Yeah. So find creative ways of redirecting your energies without hitting the table, and the table is not the target you want. The problem is your boss. Now you're hitting the table and the kids are running to sleep. So you need to figure out how to direct your energies where they. So once you understand your body, you understand your system, then you can actually take control. I think I'd mentioned in the earlier episode about seizing self. You know, once you seize yourself, you understand what works for you, then you will let other people know what works for you, and then now you try and direct your style and thinking around that. So then you seize others. And by doing so, you will have seized the task, which means your performance is not affected by your own personal conditions and the things you cannot control. If things are bad at home, they are bad. Yeah? So you need to figure out, how do I need to work around them to make them better? Do I need to get support from a counselor? Do I need to see a nutritionist? Do I need to see a sexologist? Do I need to look for a gentleman, for instance? So think about all the solutions within your disposal and see what works for you that will make you be the best version of yourself.
I was actually very happy when you mentioned seize self and related it to taking control, which is basically what Jinsomin promises. And that's why our statement is take charge. So Jinsomin helps men to take charge of their lives. It just helps you. Of course, everything has to come from within, like he has rightfully said. It has to be a conscious decision. You have to identify what is stressing you. Some things are beyond your control, some things are within your control. But Jinsomin can be there to help the men take charge of their lives.
Interesting. Roma, what's your take on this?
I believe that good health should be your addiction. To go to and say that I want to achieve it at any cost. Because once you have good health in place, that's what matters.
I'm grateful for these insightful tips and thoughts on matters, energy, and performance day and night. To our audience, thanks for watching. Remember, as we said, this series is all about healthy, happy, and fulfilled men. Our next episode is about performance at night. You don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching. Till then, take charge.